Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to One Hub for round number 6 around the Baku City circuit. My name is Jacob, of course, taking you guys through this as always. Joined alongside myself as always as well, Mr. Jamie Met. Jamie, how's it going this evening?
Yeah, very good. Very decent. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm glad I don't have to drive this track again on this game, but yeah, apart from that, yeah, looking forward to seeing other people suffer.
I'm with you on that one. As soon as the P1 tier is done, I will happily, besmirch this absolute. I can't even say the words I want to say about this track because it is just that bad. But yeah, as I say, we're here for round number 6. We are approaching the halfway point of the season. Of course, after tonight, it will be the halfway point for the P2 tier. And what a first half of the season it's been so far. I've got to say, it's been really clean, really close racing. I think as I heard Nick say it literally on the P3 tier stream just a second ago. Probably the closest tier that we've ever had in One Up history.
Yeah, definitely. It's been very close, very competitive. Obviously, you may not see it from the championship standings, but the racing has definitely been close, and there's been multiple drivers who could have won races so far this season, and we've had 3 in the last 3 races, and hopefully we can keep that up. And there's certainly a few other guys who've yet to win who definitely can tonight. So wait, see if that happens. And this track, it can throw a bit of a wild card. So wait and see what happens there. And there's also a few penalties which we'll touch on maybe later on. But yeah, it should be good as all 5 of the races so far this season have been.
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree. I mean, we've had Papa Squanch as one of the first 3 races, and then Larkin winning in Monza, and then Morgan taking his first race win in One Hub last week as well over in Spa. So, yeah, it's definitely been, I say, the results may not reflect it, but in terms of if you've actually watched the streams, if you've watched any of the races back, I'd be inclined to agree with Nick that it has been an extremely close season throughout the whole of the P2 tier. And I said, probably the cleanest that we've seen it ever, I would want to say, in the P2 tier. Like, barely any reports have gone on. As you said, there was only a couple of penalties that happened last week, which we'll get into in just a short moment. But yeah, barely any penalties that we've had in this tier alone. I mean, what was the first race? Silverstone, where it was the first race of the season was heavy wet rain, and there was no instance whatsoever, which when I still looking back at that, I'm in disbelief.
Yeah, I'm very shocked by that. Yeah, obviously it's such a weird race. The weather was very weird in that race because obviously we did have dry for about a lap, I believe. So yeah, that weather setting definitely did throw up some gambles. But yeah, it has been very clean. Obviously, not many stewards reports throughout the season. Maybe 1 or 2 instances, but what expects such close tier. But yeah, it's been clean at all as what I've seen. And if you go in the chats after the race on Discord, the drivers are very cordial with each other, which is great to see. Obviously, last week we only had 1 incident really. That was between Vitinho and Mikey, and Mikey obviously got a penalty for that. But apart from that, it's been quite good.
Yeah, it has been pretty good. So, yeah, Mikey did take a 10-second time penalty last week out for that contact. I think we caught it on the stream as well. I think it was Vitinho on the fresher medium tyres. It was actually battling for a podium. I think Mikey didn't realise that Vitinho was on his inside on the way up to Blanchimont. Turned into him, broke Vitinho's wing. Very unfortunate for Vitinho because I think that was probably going to be his best result of the season. But hopefully Baku might conjure something up for him for this week. And especially with the amount of engine penalties that we've got going on for this evening. In fact, what I will do is I will actually quickly run you through now the engine penalties that people have taken for this evening, because there are a significant amount of driver penalties that people have taken. I think Jess mentioned it in the pre-race talk show earlier this morning, that the P1 tier took the most, but I've actually counted it, and it looks like the P2 tier are the ones that have actually taken the most in terms of engine and gearbox penalties. So the guys that are taking the 5 grid place penalty of a gearbox penalty are Fade, Salau, Moki, who's actually not here this evening, so he will take that at the next race over in Imola. Vitinho and Ivor Bryn Mike all taking a 5 grid place penalty. And the ones that are taking a 10 grid place penalty for this evening are Waze, Joe, Cam, Morgan, and Rich and Papa Squanch. And instantly, which catches my eye, Jamie, both Papa Squanch and Morgan taking an engine penalty. That's going to allow the likes of Salau and Larkin to soar off into the distance, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Larkin's got to take advantage. I mean, Larkin. The problem with that is that Larkin hasn't had the best qualifying record so far this season, but I think he has actually practiced this track this week. So he's not been at the golf this week, so he should be a bit more up to it in qualifying. But yeah, that's going to be a great opportunity for Larkin, obviously, to you have to say he's probably favourite for the race win, and now that news them penalties have come through.
No, of course, and as you could probably see on your guys' screen as well, there is still the one spot that is left to be filled over in the Haas side of things in terms of car wear. If you think that you are quick enough to be within the P2 tier, within, I said, probably the closest tier that we've ever had over in One Hub, make sure you guys are checking out the Discord. As I say, I'm sure it'll pop up as one of the links in the chat very, very shortly. So, yeah, I say, if you want to try and get yourself involved in One Hub, all the links will come up there very, very shortly. But for now, we are loading over into the... Oh, we're loading into the qualifying, and Salau has actually already retired from the session in the qualifying. I'll quickly pull that up for yourselves. But yeah, Salau already out of qualifying.
Yeah, it looks like he's come out the pits, hit the approach star in pit wall, come out the pits. I nearly did it in the P3 tier, and like he must have, when he released the pit limiter, sometimes you tend to go a little bit too, you tend to maybe miss his braking point there, come out the pits, and yeah, that's a costly mistake from Salau there, and that's not what he needed, and yeah, it's just a shame for him there, but he's going to really suffer for that, because if you're in the field here, it can be difficult if there's a DRS train going on, as we saw in the Grand Prix, Real Life Grand Prix a couple of hours ago. So, yeah, it could be tough evening for the Mercedes, man.
It certainly could be a tough evening for that. Of course, you can see the 16 drivers here for this evening. Only a select few of the guys that are here haven't taken themselves an engine penalty. Salau was one of them for this evening, and he's, well, almost guaranteed to be starting towards the back end of the field, but with everybody's penalties, he might be jumping up quite a few significant amount of positions for this evening. So it's not the worst thing, but at the same time, if he would have at least just put a decent time on the board, he would have actually been probably toward the top 5 of qualifying. And Salau's still one of the only ones yet to win a race this season. He is like that's within the top 4. In fact, he's the only one in the top 4 yet to win a race this season. He's had a multitude of second places, and I think it was 2 fourth places as well. So yeah, I think big mistake from Salau. I do expect him to make some time up through the field in the actual race, but that is going to be absolutely costly for him later on in the race.
Oh, definitely, it's a huge fundamental error, and I think with the way the engine penalties work, I think he may be still starting ahead of Morgan and Papa, even with that qualifying last, but it's going to be literally just ahead of them guys, so that they're all going to be together again, but in the midfield on the grid, which could make it for an exciting first stint in the race.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the championship contenders, bar Larkin, all going to be trying to make their way through the field. Obviously, Salau and Larkin did it last week. This time it was this week it's supposed to be the work of Morgan and Papa Squanch, but Salau has decided he wanted to join them for this week. So, yeah, Larkin's going to have a big advantage in terms of trying to catch up within the championship. Of course, Rich as well, another one that is pretty quick as well. So I do expect him to make up a few positions, try and follow the championship leaders. He's just had a bit of bad luck when it comes to this track as well. And one of the other people as well that we've been seeing in practice, or that I've been seeing in practice, that's looked pretty quick, is Mikey. I've got to say, the other Aston Martin, this is his opportunity, especially with Morgan's engine penalty. This is Mikey's opportunity for him to try and at least do a bit of damage control, damage limitation on the Aston Martin crew. And I think Mikey, as I say, in practice, he's looked pretty good. I think, dare I say, this might be one of his better circuits in this.
Yeah, which is good, and they need that for constructors, because Williams has got a nice chunky lead in that, obviously with Rich contributing really good points. And yeah, Mikey's been off form recently. He had a pretty good first couple of races, but recently he's been off form, and didn't help the team him getting that penalty last week in Spa. So yeah, he needs to have a good effort, and fourth on the grid. It's looking good so far, but what that led by Phage, obviously he got his first ever podium last week. Congratulations to him, and he's putting a really good marker there. 39.6 is quite a quick time on this circuit.
Yeah, the first one into the 39s. I expect whole time to be a very low 39, maybe even just about scraping into the 38s for I don't know, the likes of Morgan and Papa Squanch, even Cam as well. I think Cam can be quite handy around this circuit. Of course, he had his first race back in to One Hub last week over in Spa. Of course, filling up the McLaren seats of both Gazzaman and Quinn, who are now in the P3 tier, and of course Gazza picking up fourth position over in the P3 tier, which was quite nice to see, I've got to say. So yeah, Cam, I do expect to do quite well this evening. Tucks it up into fourth position with a 40.6. Phased already half a second up ahead of Morgan, which suggests to me that he's looking to try and be a bit of a contender tonight. He has got a gearbox penalty, but it's only a 5 grid place penalty, so it's not too bad.
And if he qualifies on pole, that means he'll be starting in 6th place, which isn't the worst. Isn't the worst outcome starting 6th? That's a pretty good outcome for him. Yeah, and I'll say that lap half a second quicker than Morgan, and to say, I know this track does ramp up a lot during qualifying, but half a second, that is a lot of time to find. And Papa Squanch, not the best lap either there, 40.7, second off. I think Papa would have made a mistake on his first lap, because that's not a lap I expect to see from the Williams man.
No, I don't expect that lap to be from him either, so I think he must have made some sort of mistake. I know Baku isn't really a favourable track among other drivers, including myself, as I say. If I could say absolute bad words and slurs about this track, I would, but I won't on this stream. But yeah, I think a few drivers also aren't the biggest fans of this track, so I do. That's probably why we're seeing multiple engine penalties for this evening. And especially with the fact you've got the big, probably one of the biggest straights on the F1 calendar. Literally, as soon as you come out of that last 90-degree left-hander, it is basically all flat out, all the way up towards the line. So I wouldn't say it's easy to overtake, but it's not the most difficult track to overtake at. It's just dependent on what your setup is looking like as well. You know, you could have the best opportunity of even flying through. I mean, we saw it again, P3 tier, or reference that back to. Literally, up towards the line, both Jacob and Burjax, it was only split by 1/10 of a second. Again, dependent on setup, dependent on ERS usage that you've got in the race at the very end of it, you might end up snatching a position off of someone literally at the very end of the race.
Yeah, I saw that on the mini-map, actually, coming across the line, and I think they're on the... And yeah, it's very tight there between them two for sure. And yeah, I've just known this game, DRS and a bit of battery is so overpowered, it is ridiculous. On a track like this, it's like literally, you can be, I'm not joking, you be like barely in DRS zone coming out that final corner, and you can be alongside in the turn one. That's how overpowered the DRS and battery can be around this circuit if you use it in the right way, of course.
Yeah, no, of course. So we'll see if one of the drivers that I'm running on board with at the moment for a lap, see if he's able to utilise that ERS as much as possible in his qualifying lap, his second lap of this session. Mr. Rich 500 sitting in third position at the moment, braking at around the 100 metre board, down into third gear to get the best traction as possible off turn number 3. Now through turn number 4, again another 90-degree corner, but this time a right-hander of the first right-hander of the circuit. Now down in towards what I would probably say is one of the hardest chicanes probably on the F1 calendar, because if you run just an extra little bit deep, it completely messes up the flow of the next couple of corners for yourself. So yeah, Rich now coming up towards the tightest section again on the F1 calendar. Through the castle section he goes in that Williams, keeping it in second gear. Now here, the double left-handers is where it is just completely flat out up towards the downhill section. Again, braking at around the 100 meter board, down into third gear. In fact, he takes it down into second gear through the downhill section. Gets nice traction off of that. It didn't actually clip too much off the curb. I know a few drivers do like to absolutely mount that curb, but Rich did not do that on that. And then what I would probably say was the final corner, of course, the final braking zone. And now it is a straight run up towards the line, and see what Mr. Rich 500 is going to do. He's got 20% of battery left. Now going to just be sort of turning on and off that battery as he makes his way up towards the line. Rich, he did a 40.4 to begin with. He's done a 40.1, jumps up ahead of Morgan with a 140 1:45 to his name, but I know there's a few other people that are making their way up towards the line here, Jamie, and I think Mikey might be about to be the second one in the 39s. He certainly is.
Oh, good lap. Yeah, very good lap. In the 39s, very impressive. I think any lap in the 39s would be good around here tonight. And his teammate, we've got a McLaren come lost line of Cam, I believe he's on an out lap. So we've got a Red Bull right behind. Are they getting a bit of slipstream? I think they might be getting a bit of a turn of the Red Bull. And I don't see any change on that car there. But see what Morgan doing. Morgan goes at the third, just pipping his teammate, and Mikey, interesting enough, he's quite bang on his teammate's pace around there. So I haven't been in many practice sessions, but the practice pace is showing you in the qualifying so far. And the top 5, as Jess goes sixth there, nice lap by the Red Bull driver. And yeah, they say Mikey's my man of qualifying so far. He's definitely showing up very strong.
Yeah, he certainly is. Lawrence just coming across the line, jumped up into 6th now, just up ahead of Jess. Joe is going through turn number 3, so he's not, well, he's on a lap at the moment, but I haven't seen if he's making any sort of improvement at this current moment. I think Papa Squanch might be the next one across the line. He's just making his way through the castle section now. 300s up on his first time. Again, a 140.7 for our championship leader. Not particularly the fastest that we have seen so far this weekend, but of course sitting in 12th position. Of course, he has that engine penalty, and again, I don't blame him for taking the engine penalty around here. I do expect him to be sort of starting towards the back end of the field, of course, with that engine penalty, but I was also expecting him to be up there with the times likes of Larkin, likes of Morgan, likes of Mikey. But yeah, Papa Squanch, he's now just in the flat out section as he makes his way up towards the final DRS section of the circuit. He's still got 20% to his name, as he's now just going to be sort of turning it on, turning it off, turning it back on again to come up towards the line. Our championship leader, he tucks in a 140.126. So again, very, very close to his teammate. I did manage to make an improvement up into 5th. That's more like the time as what I'd be seeing from Papa, as Cam pips him by 0.003 of a second. So now, very, very tight. All the way from Morgan down to Rich, only separated by just under 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, very competitive in that mid-grid. Yeah, no, Cam likes his track. His previous win around there in wet conditions. Obviously, we're not going to have wet ways today, but yeah, no, Cam's a big fan of this track. And yeah, Papa in 6th, Rich in 7th, and it's very interesting. Lawrence also in 8th place. Obviously, Lawrence learning the wheel and maybe getting more and more accustomed to it every session. And yeah, he's definitely shooting the water quite nicely. And there's yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see these guys. Obviously, now they're going to come in the pits now, and this will be for preparation for the final runs. It is impossible around the track to do 4 runs. The lap is just far too long. So everyone coming in the pits now. Everybody is either in the pits or in an in-lap, and we'll have a bit of calm before the storm of the last 2 minutes of qualifying.
We certainly will. Well, Mikey is actually going to be the first one out to do his final lap. Sorry, so he's already taken a bit, well, going early on his final run. I don't blame him. He has himself a nice bit of clear track. Of course, the other two, Papa Squanch and Cam, that are still out, are just going to make their way back into the pits. I don't think they're going to try and go for one more lap. So at this current moment, yeah, they're just going to come into the pits so that they can get ready for their final runs, as you say as well there, Jamie. So any sort of particular surprises at this moment? You know, somebody that's maybe looking pretty good so far within the last 4 minutes of qualifying, or anybody that you think is a little bit underwhelming so far for this evening?
I think the impressive guy is probably Mikey in 4th. That's pretty good to see from him. I expect the top 4, the other top, to be up there because they've been podiums all season. I think for disappointment, I'll have to go for, it might sound a bit harsh, but I'll go for Proverb, because Proverb has shown good pace recently in the past few races, and down in 14th with a 41, he won't be too happy with that. He'd be looking to try and get the 1 minute 40. He's trying to get himself in the midfield. I think Proverb has to be the disappointing driver of qualifying so far after showing good pace in the last 2 races.
Yeah, no, I completely agree as well. You know, Proverb, I would have expected him to be a little bit higher up, at least maybe within the top 10. Vitinho trying to sort of replicate what he was doing over at Spa. He's sitting in 10th position at the moment, and hopefully can try and make a bit more of an improvement. I see both of the Ferraris are out on circuit together, so maybe a bit of slipstream may go down between the pair of them. But I say, Mikey just about to start his final lap now, so we'll ride on board with the Aston Martin, who I think is probably looking the most impressive out of the midfield, as well as Fade as well. You know, both of them are looking very, very impressive for this evening so far. But Mikey down in towards turn number 2, keeping it, doesn't actually get any wheel spin off of that turn, so very nicely executed from the Aston Martin, turning off his ERS quite early as well for what I would have thought. Braking again, 100-meter board in towards turn 3. You want to try and take as much as you can on that left-hand side, but of course you take too much of that, you're clipping your wheel, and that is tyre gone, and qualifying done, and race done, of course, if you do that in the race. Now again, in towards that tricky chicane, he's a 10th.5 up on his time, so Mikey, this will put him at the very least ahead of his teammate and very closely by to Larkin. But I think sector 2 is usually where things can change, especially if you're running a low wing setup. You know, the first and third sector, they are tailored to yourself, but it's what you do in the second sector is what is going to be mighty important, especially at that castle section, because you can lose and gain so much time through there. But up towards the downhill section, again, I know a few drivers like to mount that curb. Mikey does just slightly touch that curb, but not really executing it to the fullest. Up towards now the final corner, 3.5 tenths up is Mikey on his time, so it will put him onto pole position if he manages to complete the rest of this lap the way it is, and it is just a complete flat out section. Going to be using the rest of his ERS as he makes his way up towards the line. Of course, the ERS is now going to be open for himself. Run up towards the line. Mikey was 3.5 tenths up at the end of the second sector. He will go, doesn't go onto pole position. In fact, he lost out a slight bit in that final sector.
Yeah, I was looking on his battery there. He still had a tiny bit. He still had a little bit of green left on the battery, so he didn't quite optimise the battery, and that could have been all the difference if he just used that little bit of battery a bit more, drained it a bit more. Then it could have been pole, but that's still a cracking that for him, and he'll be happy with that. That's going to give him a great position to start this race tonight. So great lap there, but say Fage did it on his first one. Nobody's got close at the moment, and I think he's going quicker again. So we'll catch him when he gets closer to the line. So we've got the Ferraris who are slipstream each other. They're going to cross the line. We've got Vitinho who is going to cross the line first, and then teammate Wace actually, who goes 13th, and Vitinho 10th. So that did not work for the Ferraris. They did not improve. So that slipstream effort did not work for the Ferrari boys. We've got a Red Bull cross line of Jess, I believe, or Larkin starting this lap. Larkin left that very late. Wow, he just got across the line though. Got a McLaren of Calm across the line. And yeah, some of these guys, there's not really many improvements I'm seeing so far. I mean, a lot of these guys maybe trying to hit the wall, pushing that a little bit too much, maybe pushing a bit over the edge. As Lawrence now starts, so going to be last guy across the line. So we've got another car across the line. I believe that's Fage, and another improvement there, 3 tenths quicker, and that is going to be a very quick hard lap to beat. As Morgan is a 10th up, but I think
he's already done a time.
Yeah,
he did a time already. So yeah, Morgan, his qualifying is done. He did make an improvement onto it. Jumped up ahead of Larkin into 3rd position, but of course Larkin is on his final run as well at the moment. Wooden Proverb, next one across the line to finish his qualifying 15th position. Welsh Benjamin making, I think it was a slight it didn't improve at all on his time. Joe is not coming across the line, so he will be starting at maximum 13th position. Richelieu almost a second up on his time, up into 10th position for Rich. Very good lap time from himself, and maybe looking to try and get himself in a decent scrap for the midfield. Don't forget, he is one of the only ones that isn't taking an engine penalty for this evening, so he's going to be jumping up quite a few positions as Jess comes across the line to go 1,000th up ahead of Lawrence. Rich also across the line, making an improvement as well up ahead of Jess. So Rich up into 7th, Jess up into 8th position, and now next one to come across the line, Mr. Camke himself, and he's 4 tenths up on his time. So this is going to put him in contention with the likes of Morgan and Mikey, as Cam, again, he has got himself an engine penalty for this evening, so he will look to try and jump up as much as he can. Full position for the McLaren driver. Iverbrid Mike being the next one across the line, also taking an engine penalty, did not improve on his time, but in fact, I said it's an engine penalty, it's a gearbox penalty for this evening for Mike. Lawrence across the line again, not making any improvement for himself. Larkin didn't make an improvement either, so P5 is the best he's going to get, and I believe, to my knowledge, that's qualifying done and dusted. Phased, I think it's first pole position of the season, and unfortunately for him, he's got a gearbox penalty to
That's a shame. It'll go down to Paul on his stats, but obviously he'll start 6th on the grid. And I'd say Mikey 2nd on the grid, out qualifying his teammate. That's a great impressive. Them front two, what great qualifying for them. And Cam in fourth as well. Cam is get up to speed again, and he wasn't quite sure. He wasn't quite sure about how he's going to fit into this tier, but I tell you, it's fitting up really well. And that's a great lap for him. Larkin will obviously jump up a few places on the grid. He'll be near the front of the grid, but I think Larkin's hoping maybe start on pole, but that will not be the case. I don't believe, and I believe it might be Cam who's starting on pole. Does Cam have a penalty? I'm not quite aware of, but I think Cam may be the guy who's going to start in pole position if I've got that right.
No, so the ones that we start on pole position, it will actually be the other Aston Martin. It will be Mikey. Mikey is going to be the one starting on pole because he's the only one that hasn't taken an engine penalty, as well as Larkin. So they're going to be on the front row. But in this qualifying session, Phage was the one that topped it there with Mikey in second, Morgan in third. Cam in fourth, Larkin fifth. Papa Squinch in sixth with Rich in seventh. Jess eighth, Florence ninth. Rich ran that top 10. Mike in 11th with Vitinho in 12th. Ross Benjamin 13th. Joe in 14th. Waze in 15th. Woodman Proverb in 16th. And then Salah, after crashing outside as he made his way out of the pits, unfortunately is going to be starting, I was going to say towards the back, but with everybody's engine penalties, he probably will start around 10th or 11th position.
Yeah,
Jess will probably put it in the chat as to who is going to be starting where very, very shortly. So, yeah, again, very, very interesting qualifying session. Mikey and Larkin as a front row. And as I say, we'll get the rest of the, or we'll be able to tell you the grid as soon as Jess has put it in the chat and we'll find out from there. But I've got to say, very, very impressive qualifying from the other Aston Martin of Mikey. I think that's probably the best I've seen from him.
Yeah, very impressive. And yeah, as I say, the team need it for the constructors. It's good to see Mikey back on form. He had some good. I was racing with him before the season started, and he definitely had good pace then. And he just had a bit of a slump as the season started. I think maybe, obviously, he's new to league racing, maybe getting used to it a bit now. But I think on the track he quite likes. He obviously loves this track. He's obviously got a setup he enjoys. And yeah, he's just shown it there. Obviously, he's a great quality lap, but race pace didn't matter. And I apologise for my confusion on the engine penalties there. I should have been more aware of that. But anyway, we're going to have the grid set, and this may take some time, so we have to be a bit patient here. Jess will do the best job she can, and yeah, obviously we'll get the grid as soon as it is sorted. So yeah, we have a bit of interlude here before whilst that's all been worked out. Yeah, but yeah, Mikey, can he get his first ever podium tonight? He's in a great position to do so.
Well, he's on the pole position technically, so there is a chance, and as I said, with his pace for this evening, what I've seen in practice, I think there is a chance Mikey could actually win for this evening. And you know what? I'm actually going to say this right now, Jamie. I think he will win this evening. I think Mikey, as I say, in the practice sessions and what I've been in, he has looked very quick. So I do believe Mikey will win it this evening. I think Solal has been very unlucky in the card that he's been dealt with and the fact of what happened in the start qualifying. So I expect him to make up a few positions. Again, I think this is just going to boil down to strategy, mainly with strategy. So,
yeah,
I know tyres around here are awful. The rear tyres especially are really, really bad after a few laps. I expect a lot of these drivers this evening to be doing maybe medium, hard, medium, hard, medium as a different variety. It's just whether they're going to be able to manage their tyres as best as possible. So there's definitely a few strategies to do for this evening. And it's going to be tough to call. But in my opinion, where he's starting, I think Mikey is going to be the one that will take the win for this evening. I don't know if you want to give a bit of an early prediction as to who you think might come out on top.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Definitely, Mikey definitely is in the pound seat to win the race for sure. And yeah, that's a solid pick, obviously, with his great qualifying pace. And well, for me, I'm looking at this. I'm thinking Larkin has to take this opportunity. Really, he's a bit behind the championship. He's going to be starting at the front of the grid alongside Mikey, and he's got to take this opportunity. It's what these engine penalties are for. It's for other drivers who use them earlier. They're not using them yet. They've got to capitalise here because they're going to be in a position where they've got to take an engine penalty on a track where it's probably harder to overtake on. So I believe it could be Larkin v Mikey for our race win tonight. That's what I'm predicting. I think Larkin will just about take it, but Mikey will get a second place, and it'll be within a second of each other. That's my prediction.
I definitely think in terms of experience-wise, because this is Mikey's first ever league that he's done for league racing. In terms of experience, yeah, this screams of Larkin winning it this evening. But in terms of, again, it's just in terms of pace, and as long as he manages to keep a calm head at the very start of, or very front of the field, I think Mikey has definitely got a very good opportunity, which is why I picked him as a race winner. But obviously, everybody that's watching, you let us know in the chat who you think is going to be taking the win for this evening, who you think is going to have a very impressive race, and who you think might have a bit of a stinky race. One of the drivers which has a bit of a stinky qualifying, which we did a pre-race interview for this week, is Mr. Salau himself. As you can see on your screen, we asked him, welcome to the halfway point in the season so far. How would you say you have done, and are you happy with your pace? And he has come back to say, so far I've had the best first half I've ever managed, so that's good, but still a few silly mistakes, still lots to learn and work to be done. And of course, I think that reflects it in his results that he's got so far this season. I mean, as I say, the results that I can see was 2 fourth places, and the rest of them were all second places. There's been opportunities for him to win the races this season. Unfortunately, it's just not worked out for him. Again, second round of the season, I think, is the perfect example of that, finishing in fourth at Canada. I think he had the best opportunity to win there, and unfortunately, he didn't capitalize on it.
No, and obviously talk about last week as well, where I believe he threw away a podium by making that mistake in the gravel behind Fage, who he had really good pace that race. He definitely had pace to win a lot of these races, but I say little mistakes in qualifying, little mistakes in races, it just hasn't come together for him. But he's got, I believe he will win a race this season, but I think today that mistake in Baku, it might be another what could have been, because obviously we didn't see what pace he was capable of, but I think he was definitely capable of starting in the top 4 today for sure. And if you're starting in the first couple of rows on this track, then you're in contention to win. But yeah, you just got to do another comeback drive. He's done a couple of good comeback drives so far this season, and this just has to be another for him. But he's looking good he's looking good in that battle for a podium place in the Drivers' Championship though, which is good to see. And yeah, he's the nearly man of one-up racing. It has to be said.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I do expect him to make up a few positions at the start of this race. It's just whether he's going to be able to try and capitalize on a few other people making mistakes. I mean, we saw it over in the P3 tier if he was watching that. Obviously, I know he was driving in it, but for the people that are watching, if you saw it in the P3 tier, quite a significant amount of drivers were making mistakes, hitting walls, going into barriers, breaking their front wings. Few safety cars, a few virtual safety cars could go maybe Salau's way, could go Morgan's way, could go Papa Squanch's way, maybe even Mikey and Larkin's way if they're going to try and long out their stints or try and shorten out their stints, anything like that. Someone could even try and do a bit of a reverse on there, and maybe if an early safety car comes out, we saw it in P3 with Kinney, maybe try and just do both his pit stops under the safety car. So any sort of strategy can happen in terms of this around Baku, and it's just whether they're going to be able to capitalize on that certain strategy, whether they're going to be able to capitalize on people making their mistakes, and dare to sort of pick up the pieces in terms of that as well. For this week as well, we have our rivalries. Unfortunately, it's a bit moot at this point because Mokri isn't actually here this evening, but just so you guys are made aware of the rivalry side of things, it was Mokri versus Fade, very quite close to each other in the championship, both of course picking up themselves a podium for this season as well, sitting in 6th and 7th respectively in the championship. And again, I know Fade has got that 5 grid place penalty, but I do expect him to be picking up a podium for this evening, starting down in 6th position. Again, Baku, it's not the hardest track to overtake at, but it's certainly not the easiest track to overtake at. But I do expect Fade to jump up a bit more in terms of points from those 34 points that he's got currently to his name.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So, yeah, I say that's what the rivalries for this evening are. Still just currently waiting on the actual grid at the moment, just so you guys are aware as to who is starting where. Whilst we are doing that, I will quickly actually run us through the sponsors for this season. As always, of course, thank you very much to all of our sponsors, and to begin with, with Next Level Racing. who provide us great prizes throughout the entirety of the season and through the past few seasons as well. So say a big massive shout out to Next Level Racing. Over to our next ones of sim racing setups. Of course, the brand new sponsor of the season. If you guys do want to pick up any of the sim racing setups, you can always use code OneHub at OneHub Racing at checkout. So again, big shout out to those guys as always. Next sponsor for this evening is Pure Sim Gear. Sponsors the league by providing sim racing socks and gloves to the driver with the most fastest laps and pole positions over the course of the season. You can use code OHR10P to get 10% off on the sim racing socks and gloves. And of course, for the Going Gets Tough award, one of these will also get the driver with that gets awarded at the very end of the season will also get themselves a pair of socks or gloves as well. So big shout out to, of course, Pure Sim Gear. Next one being Vespertine. Partnered with Vespertine, who supports our official apparel and also provides some great merch prizes. Of course, Salal himself is the one that has provided for that. So big shout out to themselves. And of course, finally, of Sim Grid. Without them, we'd just be using Google Documents and Google Spreadsheets, and it'd just be one spreadsheet after another. We'd be seeing rectangles and spreadsheets in our sleep. So again, SimGrid just make it a lot easier as well. And big thank you to all of our sponsors for this season. We are actually loading back into the session, and I can confirm in terms of what is going to be, or what the grid is going to be looking like for yourselves for this evening. So, you know what, Jamie, you take away. You give us it. Tell the guys how the grid is looking now.
Yeah, so on pole position, we got Mikey in second place. We got Larkin in third. We got Jess. So good shots of Red Bull there. In fourth, we got Lawrence. In fifth, Richard, who that clutch up then there has gained a load of places on the grid. Number 6, we've got our pole sitter, who obviously took a 5-pace gearbox on it in phase. In 7th, we got Benjamin. In 8th, we got Proverb. In 9th, we got Cam. In 10th, we got Morgan. In 11th, we got Rich. 12th, we got Ivory Mike. 13th, Fatinho. 14th, Papa Squanch. 15th, Joe. 16th, Waze. And 17th, Salau, who also, I've got an explanation for his crash. Apparently, his wheel failed coming out the pit, so that is why he probably left the session afterwards. Probably had to reset that, and hopefully that should all be fixed for the race. It's going to start very shortly.
Yeah, it certainly will. So, the big thing that's sort of that I'm looking at in terms of that, Mikey on pole and Larkin in second, Jess in third. I think she needs to try and do an absolute solid to her teammate, or I don't know. There could be maybe a little bit of an inter-team battle going on between the two Red Bulls down in towards turn 1. We could potentially see that from her, maybe trying to get her elbows out. Of course, the rest of a lot of the quick guys, Morgan, Papa Squanch, Solaus, are all down towards the back end of the field. I say Larkin and Mikey, this is their best chance. Same with FaZe. All of their best chances to get to pick up a huge points haul for this evening. I do expect a few of them to make their way through the field. It's just whether they're going to be able to do it in a clean and safe manner, and if they're going to be able to try and if they're going to be able to do it maybe on strategy, I say overtaking wise. Only time will tell in terms of that there, Jamie.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting seeing. Obviously, Larkin and Jess, I believe, do communicate in races, so it'd be hard to orchestrate at the start of a race. I'd be for the first couple laps, you just got to race hard, and then they can view the situation after that and see what happens there. But yeah, I believe it'd be flat race between them two for the first couple laps. Obviously, the main thing they've got to do is not crash into each other, which around here is easier said than done, because you can get sucked into instance. Turn 1 and turn 2 and turn 3 around there, they're all instant zones for sure in a packed tight field like this. So I'll be amazed if we get through lap 1 without any broken wings or broken suspensions or safety cars. I'll be amazed if we have a clean lap 1. But this tier has surprised us in the past, and we'll find out very shortly. Obviously, drivers going to have time to get their setups and their strategies and their fuel level sorted. And once Jess has given the ample time, she will start the race.
Yeah, they certainly will. So, yeah, I expect a couple of different strategies: medium, hard, medium, medium, hard, hard, medium, hard, hard, medium. They're the ones that I'm more expecting to be seeing this evening. I do not expect to see a soft tire whatsoever. If I do, I think you're an absolute madman. But maybe just to make up a few positions at the start, especially the quick guys at the back. They could potentially go for something completely outlandish and go for a set of the softs at the start of the race to try and make up those positions at the very start. But I think we're just about to get ourselves underway here. Jamie, take it away.
Yep, 3 lights, 4 lights, short one to turn 1, 5 lights, and we're underway, and it's a good start by Mikey. Larkin has a bit of a sluggish start. Jess going to be side by side, but backs out of it. What can Lawrence do? Not too much. You've got Richelieu in 5th, we've got Fage, we've got a spinner, I believe that is Cam. Cam's down to 17th, so yeah, Cam, not the best start for him there. He's one of our spinners at the back, but good start there by Mikey, the 2 Red Bulls. Whole position, you've got Proverb live with Mike fighting for 10th place, and Joe, there's Papa Squanch, not had a great start, down to 13th, and he's getting sold up by the field as we also had 2 cars come together there. But maybe a bit of lag though. He's got one of the Ferraris threatening to go up the inside of Papa, but backs out of it. But apart from Cam, that was quite a clean first couple of corners.
Yeah, it certainly was. Richelieu and Lawrence are both side by side. I think Lawrence has broken himself his front wing. They're one of the only hard runners to start on there as well, and unfortunately his front right end plate is almost completely gone. I say with that battle with himself and Richelieu, it's allowed Fage to get ahead of the pair of them and already looking for the sights of the podium.
Yeah, with contact between Wace and Lawrence going into that chicane for the cast section, and I think Wace was caught out by Lawrence's braking there, and yeah, he managed to get through, but Lawrence the loser there, and Lawrence has to pit because he cannot drive really damage like that. It's going to be difficult for him. He's lost his complete wheel now, I believe, so it's going to be difficult for him to get through this final section of track where you've got a lot of high-speed corners, so watch out for him there. New guys behind have to be aware, but great start by Mikey there. Mikey's got a nice gap over Larkin already, so Mikey is threatening to gap Larkin already. Larkin has to stay from that DRS, of course. It'll be online down the second straight.
Yeah, it certainly will do. So yeah, Mikey managing to hold on at the start. Larkin in second, with Jess in third, already losing out 1 second to her teammate as well. Phaged up into 4th after starting in 6th position, of course, to the benefit of the collision between Rich and Lawrence. Lawrence makes his way into the pits. Papa Squanch broke his front wing, I think, on the back of Lawrence as well. So Papa Squanch has now got a bit of an aid on that. Lawrence has already retired from the session, so he's coming to the pits to retire from there, unless he actually crashed on the pit entry because his car has just instantly disappeared. So yeah, I think Lawrence crashed.
Yeah, you're saying terminal damage, so yeah, crash coming in the pits. Obviously, the pit lane around there is very difficult, and obviously, you won't know this, but in that first ever season of one of race back in F1 2016, we had about 8 cars been in there in qualifying because nobody used that pit lane. But yeah, I think the more you see it now there, but it's so easy to do because it's such a fast pit lane. He had no front wing, and he had the car behind him in the pits, so he was under pressure to be on the line. He got it wrong and he's out the race, but amazingly, no safety car at VSC. The car just disappeared straight away. That's very weird.
Very strange, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, as I say, it doesn't cause any safety cars or anything like that, so that can't complain. Morgan, I've also just seen, has got himself some front right end plate damage as well. Mr. Ivor Brim Mike has gone too deep into turn number 3.
That was my scream because I saw him on the back of Joe and he missed the brake zone, and I think Mike decided, I'll just take myself out of contention rather than cream a teammate out, and he obviously released the brakes a bit, and he avoided the Mercedes of Joe, but cost off a lot of time there and did a lot of Maheva Ragnarsson out of there, but he's managed to get out all right now, and he's got underway, but I believe he has damaged his wing, so yeah, not a great lap there for Mike, as Larkin is in DRS of Mikey. So these two might fare for the win. At the moment it's looking good for that, as Phage has overtaken Jess for 4th. That's a crucial move for the Racing Bulls, man. He had to get that move done, I think, because Jess just hasn't got the pace to the front two.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. Morgan going around the outside of Welsh Benjamin down in towards turn 1. I think what happened, Richelieu had a bit of a bad exit out of turn number 1. The Alpine then also was following the Haas driver, and Morgan just sort of took advantage of that and is now going to try and get himself past the Haas driver as well. Not going to be able to go for any sort of move at the moment.
Larkin
but Morgan already
Mikey
up
side
into
by
6th.
side. Larkin on the outside gets the move done in the lead. Larkin in sorry to interrupt him, but Larkin has taken the lead of the race. Great move by there around the outside, hits the wall, but I believe he's got away from it. He did clip the wall there, but he's got away from it there, and Larkin is in the lead. And look at Phage. Phage has caught up to these guys because they're battling. Now Phage is in the DRS for these two. We knew how quick he was in qualifying, so yeah, Phage has joined this lead battle.
Certainly has. The top 4 have completely blown away from the rest of the grid. Richelieu just having a little being the catalyst of that, as Morgan, a massive tank slapper through the castle section. I think he might have tagged the inside. Of course, he has got that damage to his front right end plate, but is still putting the pressure onto the Hash driver out in front of him. But yeah, Larkin and Mikey both going at it. Jess has already now lost DRS to the top 4, so she to the other top 3, sorry, should I say. So she needs to try and get herself back within the DRS of the RB out in front if she wants any chance of being able to stick with the rest of these guys. She's got 40% of battery to her name, as do the rest of the people sort of within the top 4. But yeah, Phased is the one that is looking the most daring at the moment, and he might even try and go for a move on Mikey. And as I say that, Mikey burning his battery, got the DRS wide open. He's going for the move on Larkin, back for the lead of the race to, yeah, take that back on lap number 4, and the RB isn't going to look to follow, but Larkin taps the back of Mikey. Going to have a little bit of an oversteer moment. It's going to allow Phage to try and maybe go for a move on the Red Bull, but not going to be able to go for any sort of move at the moment. Now, of course, with the next DRS zone down in towards turn number 3, are we going to see any moves go down? Larkin's going to be burning a bit of his ERS. Phage is going to be using a bit of his ERS as well, but everything is just going to remain as is for the top 3. I heard a little bit of a collision in towards turn 3, but I think that might have just been on the exit of that. So everyone's still running as in tandem as it is. Morgan did get the move done on Richelieu. Solal has just got on past Vitinho as well down in towards turn number 3. So few moves being made on this lap, or on lap number 4, and I think we're going to now start to see these medium tyres start to drop off a bit more now, Jamie.
Speaking of tyres dropping off, we just had Papa Squanch in the pits. Obviously starting the soft with not wind damage, so he's got changed the medium tyres and changed the ring. I have to say, a soft, medium, hard strategy. That is a very brave, bold strategy for Papa. I'm surprised at the softs because the mediums to hards are bad. I couldn't imagine what them soft tyres are like. But anyway, yeah, these front 3 starting to pull away. Jess is tantalisingly out of DRS. She needs to drain a bit battery here to get in. I think she's in it now. The detection point is at the exit of these corners, so if she gets a good run for here, she'll be in DRS, and she has not got a nice run for here, but these 3 are just slips in each other, and Jess just not quite there. And Morgan is now pulled 1.5 seconds on Richelieu. Morgan is absolutely flying, and he'll be joining his lead battle very shortly as Phage has overtaken Larkin for 3rd before the DRS straight.
Yeah, it certainly has, and now it's going to give Phage the opportunity to try and go for a move on Mikey. He's hitting the rev limiter though, so he's not going to be able to go for any move on the Aston Martin at the moment. Mikey though does have a little bit of a drift going in towards turn 1. Jess may have just pulled herself back into the DRS of the guys out in front. I don't think she has actually, so ignore me on that. Wade's just gone for the move on Welsh Benjamin in towards turn number 1 as well, but not going to be able to go for a neat switchback. Is the Welshman, so he's just going to have to sit behind the Ferrari, as now Phage is into the lead of the race, and that 5 grid place penalty he had for his gearbox has now been completely undone, and he is back into the lead of this race. So within the first 5 laps, as I said earlier, it's not the hardest to overtake around Baku, but it certainly isn't the easiest. As there's yellow flags down below, that is when Proverb has had a massive spin out of turn number 3 and has completely shattered his front wings. So the RB, unfortunately, was running quite well at the start of this race. Unfortunately, he's now down into 13th position. He's going to have to pit on this lap. But not only that, I do expect a few of the guys to maybe make a pit stop at the end of this lap on the guys that are on a set of the medium tyres. I say they are starting to die off quite significantly. Morgan has also joined the fray in this, guy. So now what was a top 3 battle is now down to a top 5 battle, as Jess has managed to claw her way back into DRS as well.
Just back in DRS, and Phage is actually threatening to break DRS. He's not going to quite do it, but yeah, you have to say, I wonder if that was tactical from Phage. He did it back to practice. I wonder if he thought, hey, I've got really good pace here. If I've got faith in myself, qualify on pole, get starting 6th, and he won't be much of a bother. And yeah, it's just worked out a treat for him. He's just not quite broken DRS. He was close to doing it, but Mikey just about hangs on to the coattails of the RB, and these 2 are in. Mikey and Larkin are both in, so they're going for an aggressive strategy. Surely a set of hard tyres for both these guys, surely.
I think they're going to do a double hard stint at the end here, so I don't think they're going to be doing a hard medium. I think if you're going to do a hard medium, you need to pit around lap 8 to be able for that to work for the rest of the guys. So yeah, it's now allowed Phage to go 2 seconds up ahead of Jess, and unfortunately for Jess, she's out of DRS from anybody, so it's now going to be put under pressure from Morgan behind us. So yeah, Jess has got a bit of work to do if she wants to try and get back within the DRS of Phased, as well as try and keep the Aston Martin behind her to help out both Larkin, well, to help out Larkin, especially with all of this going on. But yeah, a little bit further behind as well, Solau. It was putting Welsh Benjamin under pressure, and Welsh Benjamin putting Waze under pressure as well. Waze had a pretty good start in terms of where he started on the grid. In fact, let's have a quick look at the position changes. Of course, both Mike and Larkin have just pit, so they're a little bit exempt from that. They are still technically within that battle of the top guys, but Waze and Solau both moved themselves up a significant amount of positions from the start. So they've both had very, very good starts and putting them pressure to get themselves the top 5 for this evening. But yeah, I think Solau, especially considering the fact that he didn't even have an engine penalty but had DNF'd, unfortunately for him, starting at the very back of the grid with that wing damage he's got, and in fact actually hitting the side of Welsh Benjamin. Welsh Benjamin went too deep in towards the downhill section, and I don't know if that's given Solau even more wing damage, but Solau did hit the side of the Alpine driver. He's now up at the 6th position, but with no DRS from the likes of Waze out in front, they are going to be put under an immense amount of pressure as both Jess and Morgan make their way into the pits to do their stops. Richard, who does follow Phased, has opted to stay out, and I can tell you for free, the undercut around here is extremely powerful because of how much those tyres die off.
Definitely. I raced. I was battling my teammate a bit at the end of the race on our race, and I must have gained about 3 seconds on the 4 seconds on the undercut. It's crazy how much you gain, and you obviously Phage committing to the double medium strategy, you have to say there, and it's working out well for Mikey Lark, and they've come out with some very nice clean air. They can firstly bed the tyres in, and then they can just set some really quick laps and sort of. Mikey Larkin could get dragged along by Mikey, so it's them two are in a good place so far. And so it's not working out for Papa. All these guys are pitted, and Papa is still behind him and on all the medium. So Papa, he needs a safety car. I think that's another bit of debris fly. I don't know who that's from. That's a VSC. Someone hit the wall and damaged the wing. I'm sure of it. I'm not sure who it was.
Ooh, I think it's Whipping Proverb. I've seen that he has stopped out of turn number 2, so it might have been himself. That has caused the virtual safety car. But I mean, asking you shall receive. A virtual safety car has made its way out onto the circuit. That's going to allow, if they can catch up to it, it's going to allow the likes of Waze and Phaged to have basically a free pit stop. And with Phaged already in the lead of the race, it's just going to extend his lead even more. But that's, again, if he can get there before the end of the virtual safety car, I'll be assuming that the virtual safety car is going to be ending very, very shortly because there's nothing there. Vitinho picks up a drive through, and so does Sheck Waze in 2nd position. I didn't even also realise he has himself wing damage, but Waze picking up a drive through penalty. It was looking like it'd be a good race for him, especially with the amount of positions him and Solau have made up. Now, with that drive through, it's basically hindered his race now for well, for the rest of this evening.
Should come in now, get rid of it before any more safety cars come out. He's going to come in. Oh, that was weird. That was very weird. Salah was threatening to overtake Waze there, but realised he'd come in the pit, so he had to back out of it. That was very bizarre. I don't know if he caught that, but that was a very bizarre moment.
Yeah, I did manage to catch that. I thought it was a bit of DRS checking going on, which I know is not allowed in this league. So, but no, he was just coming into the pits to come up behind him. So that's fair enough. Waze has actually come in, chucked on a set of soft tyres. So that all but confirms that Waze is going to be going for a set of hards at the end, but a set of soft tyres. Very interesting.
No, Vitinho's retired from the race. He's retired in the pit lane. That's bizarre, because I wonder if because Waze had damage, the game decided, rather than a certain drive-through, it would change the wing for him, and maybe he didn't have the right tyre set. But yeah, that's going to hurt Waze big time. Obviously, he can do a short stint of softs, but you have to do a really long stint of hards at the end, and that is going to be absolute pain. And he's still got to drive through the surf, so Waze, it's just, what a horrible 2 minutes for Ferrari. Both getting drive-throughs, one them out and one them on a tyre which really isn't a race tyre. Very bizarre.
Yeah, I'd be expecting Waze to come back into the pits to serve a drive-through for this lap. I mean, I guess it means that he's done an extra lap on a different set of tyres, so not the worst thing, I suppose, going on a set of softs is there's yellow flags. That is, I believe, Mr. Ivor Bryn Mike getting lapped by Phaged on lap number 8. So, not good whatsoever for the Welshman. He's sitting on negative points at the moment. and I think that looks like it's going to continue for this evening as race leader is now into the pits, phased, making his first pit stop. I think Cam also going to follow in, and I do also expect the other Alpine of Welsh Benjamin to make his way into the pits at the end of this lap. So we'll see where phased is going to end up in relation to the likes of Mikey and Larkin.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. But I expect Mikey Larkin to be significantly ahead, but wait and see if Phage come up. Now it's actually closer than I thought. It's going to be very close. But I believe they're going to look at this. It worked out a treat for Phage. He's right with the rest of these two guys. These guys battling, I think, will be cost them time. And yeah, that's worked out a treat for Phage. And on average, Mike, he has had 3 wing changes. So Alpine maybe running out of wings. They've got to be careful there. But yeah, that has worked out a treat for Phage. You'd be delighted with the result of that pit stop. Larkin and Mikey fighting. I believe it might cost them there. And Phage can just. You can just sit behind these guys and wait for their tyres to die off, and should be able to pass them quite easily later on. He's got a massive offset on them 2 ahead.
Yeah, he certainly does, and I'd be expecting as well from Phage towards the end of the race to go on a set of mediums rather than going on another set of the hard tyres. Of course, he's going to have 3 fresher hards compared to the guys out in front of him, but their hard tyres have been warmed up from those 3 laps at the moment. But it looks like Phage tyres are already pretty much in that window of being warmed up. And yeah, Mikey already losing out almost 1 second. In fact, he's out of DRS to Larkin. So Larkin, after getting that overtake done up in towards turn 1, Mikey then attempted a re-overtake out of turn 2. Didn't manage to make it work and is now losing that DRS to Larkin out in front of him. Needs to try and hold back Phage, who, if I'm honest with you, he looks the quickest out on the circuit at the moment.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's only 1.7 seconds off Larkin, and he has got significantly fresher tyres. His fastest lap is 6/10 quicker than anyone else. He's on 3 lap fresher tyres, and I believe Mikey, is he in DRS? I believe he might have caught back in it. No, he hasn't. He drained a bit of his battery there, but it didn't work from him. Phage, if he's got to just. He didn't have to do it straight away. He can buy his time as Morgan's a fast lap there, so Morgan don't count him out of it just yet. He's not far behind these guys. But Mikey goes deep there. Mikey's struggling coming out of corners. His traction. He's not like his hard tyres compared to the mediums. And Phage going to be side by side. He's going to have the inside into this corner here, and he should get the move. No, he backs out of it. Mikey must be running very low wings because his straight line speed is impressive.
Yeah, that, and he's probably just burning a bit of his DRS so that he's not getting overtaken by the RB as well. But we're 10 laps into it now at the moment. Only one that hasn't made his first pit stop yet is Mr. Rich 500, of course, starting on a set of the hard tyres. I'm expecting him to maybe do medium towards the end if he stays out for like another 2 to 3 laps. So, yeah, I think Rich will see what he's going to be capable of doing. Obviously, the guys that are at the front of the field that have pit, like Larkin, Mikey and Phage, they're already quite close to the back of Rich before he's even made a pit stop. So I think what Rich is probably hoping is that a safety car does make his way out onto the circuit, so he can just basically have a nice free pit stop and not lose as many positions as he's probably thinking he will when he does make that first stop. But again, that's a big ask, to be honest with you, especially with how clean this tier has been so far this season.
Yeah, surely Phage got a treat to pass here. He was pushing Mikey through the catch section. Mikey is struggling in the corners so much. He's got good straight answer there, but surely Phage with DRS, he's used a lot of his battery at the moment, but surely he's got an opportunity as Rich finally pits. Phage going to go up the inside. Is he going to send it? Is he going to outbrake the Aston Martin? Yes, he does. Does he make it stick? No. Mikey fights on the outside, but Phage is going to have the better traction. He's going to be ahead. Now, who's going to have DRS down this straight? I believe Mikey may have the DRS. Yes, he does.
Yeah,
he's got battery, so Mikey may repass him here with his superior straight line speed. And yes, he does. Look how easily he repasses the RB of Phage. And yeah, he gets the move done, covers the line off nicely there, and Phage should be getting a bit frustrated by his Aston Martin, I think, because he is significantly quicker. Larkin's pulled 2.5 seconds already, so Mikey is not liking his hard tyres one bit.
Yeah, he certainly is, and I think that's a very good one for, well, it's very good for Larkin, the fact that these two behind him are battling it at tooth and nail. So, yeah, I mean, Phage has got to try and do what he can to get past Mikey, but he might have to try and do it down towards turn 3 rather than on the back straight, because it just seems Mikey has got the superior straight line speed, and you can just see Phage basically pushing him through this second sector. So, we'll see what the RB driver is able to do, is see if he can maybe get a move done on the Aston Martin out in front of him. All of this is just allowing Morgan to catch back up to the back of them as well. He's only 1.5 seconds behind on 4 old hard tyres as well. Of course, he had that wing damage, so that's why he ended up significantly further behind, but has managed to basically catch up and nullify that wing damage or the wing change for himself. And yeah, it's bringing Morgan into play with all of this. But FaZe is going to have the DRS on the back of Mikey. Are we going to see him go for a move down towards turn 1? Are we going to see him wait and go for it into turn 3 instead? He is significantly in front, and FaZe isn't using the battery, so I think FaZe is just going to hold on behind the Aston Martin for now and go for it down towards turn 3. But I think Mikey has seen to that, and he's going to look to try and go for a move, try and defend from FaZe as a little bit further behind. Salah gets the move done on Richelieu for 6th position, so he's making up a couple of the positions. But here we go. FaZe using the ERS, Mikey using the ERS. FaZe is going to go down the inside in towards turn number 3. They're both still side by side with each other. Go down towards turn 3. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. Mikey just about holds on to it. FaZe, unfortunately, not able to get the move done. Again, real banging between the pair of them. It's brought Morgan now into play with the pair of them. And Mikey, once again, holding on to 2nd position after all of that.
Yeah, he's just a straight line merchant at the moment. Down the pit straight, he wasn't using the battery at all, but down the he was. Man, face it inside. He's got to get this move. He's got to do this. He's got to send it inside. He's got to be cheeky here. Not in the same section, maybe not, but yeah, Mikey's struggling so much. And look at the gap. It's all dark through. And FaZe has a bit of a moment in the same section that Morgan almost runs the back of the RB man there. Yeah. But you can see how frustrated FaZe gets by his driving there. He's getting desperate. He knows he has to get his move done. And look at Larkin. Larkin has pulled 4.5 seconds in about 3 laps.
Yeah, and he's not having to burn his tyres either, trying to keep anybody behind. He's just nicely coasting. Again, Max Verstappen-esque from what we saw earlier today. So, yeah, Larkin is he's just having a nice little Sunday drive out at the lead of the race at the moment, looking to try and take his 2nd race victory of the season. Of course, he was saying that to both to Jess Solau and Colin earlier this morning in that pre-race talk show, and he's looking to try and get this win for this evening. Statistically, there should be a good track for him, and well, it's working out for him at the moment as Morgan. Yeah, now gets the move done on FaZe. So FaZe was putting pressure onto one Aston Martin. Didn't realise the other Aston Martin is now the one that is putting him under pressure. They're both still side by side of each other as they make their way in towards turn 2 and turn 3. Both will pick up DRS as they're 1 second behind Mikey. Again, still both side by side, a little bit of wheel banging between the pair of them. Morgan's going to have the inside FaZe. Is also going to be able, or not going to be able to get the move done. There's yellow flags at the back. That's Whipping Proverb out of the final corner. And FaZe, unfortunately, was looking strong for a win. It is now down in 4th position.
Yeah, just cannot get clear Mikey. And now surely Mikey will let his teammate through here, because Morgan needs the points for a driver championship. Yeah, it just shows you how important setup is. It's great having all the confidence in the middle sector, but if you cannot get the straight line speed, you're done for around there, because you're just going to get swept by the car. You're way quicker now. I'm pretty sure if FaZe was able to Mike, he'd pull a second a lap, but at the moment he just can't do anything because he got Proverb out the race. I believe that he's probably in the pit lane. He did get back to the pits. I wonder if Proverb maybe whacked his rear wing with that spin he had, because he gave the rear a fair whack, and now Mikey is 5.5 seconds behind Larkin, but surely he'll just let his teammate through here. But he's got to be careful and let his teammate through that he doesn't let FaZe through. So this will be interesting common teamwork for the Aston Martin. Can they make this work?
I don't think Mikey's actually going to let him through. I think he's just not going to burn any battery and trying to defend from Morgan, but that's also going to allow FaZe to go straight through as well, because you can see both of the Aston Martin side by side of each other. I don't think they're going to try and create a bit of a road barrier, but yeah, now Mikey might try and jump on the ERS, especially with FaZe. He's now going to try and look to go for a move down the inside on Mikey in towards turn number 1. They're both still side by side with one another. The RB trying to take a bit more of a tighter line, a bit of ball banging between the pair of them, a little bit of contact between them as well. FaZe, I don't know about that one, if I'm honest with you. May potentially have a stewards inquiry in that. I don't think Mikey was particularly too happy about that. I don't know if Mikey was moving over to the left or what, but again, I know it was just a bad contact model from this game, but I think Mikey's I think the stewards report might be coming in this race.
Yeah, but it's worked for Mike. It's worked for FaZe. He's got through and he pulled a gap. Maybe maybe I'm being a bit cynical here. Maybe FaZe thought, yeah, I may get a penalty for this, but it's worth it in the long run if I can pull a gap. you're never going to overtake him on pure pace with a straight line speed deficit. Now you just pull away, and yeah, I don't know how. I didn't see the can't judge it, but we have seen drivers in the past take tactical penalties. Maybe that's one there for Phage. I don't know, but as you say, it might just be racing incident. I'm not sure, but yeah, look at the gap he's pulled already. It's almost a second. He's out of DRS already, so it just shows you how much quicker he was. Now he's got through. Now he can just pull away nicely, and Jess is going to have that problem pretty soon because Jess is catching Mikey. Mikey just has no pace on these tyres whatsoever.
Yeah, he's not enjoying the tyres at all, and I expect Larkin and Mikey to be pitting very, very soon for another set of the hard tyres. Maybe not this lap, maybe not the next lap. Maybe Mikey even might come in this lap because he is really struggling on these hard tyres. And as you say, Jess is now pretty much within the DRS of Mikey. She just needs to use a bit of battery to get herself in there. But she's also got to be careful because Solau is now onto the back of the Red Bull driver. So we'll see if Jess is able to pick up the DRS. I don't think she has. No, she hasn't. So yeah, Solau going to have the DRS on the Red Bull. Mikey has come into the pits. And I think we're going to see a move go down in towards turn 1 here. The Mercedes versus the Red Bull. Jess is going to cover the inside. Solau's going to try and sweep it around the outside in towards turn 1. Jess does go and hold her car down in the inside, but not going to be able to go for the move and hold the position. So she's now down at the 5th position. In net 6th, of course, with Mikey making that pit stop. And now she's going to have the DRS back on Solau. So she's going to be able to go for the move back on the Mercedes out in front of them. I don't think Jess is close enough. So I think she's just going to have to remain behind Solau for the time being. Unfortunately, not much that she could do to hold that. As Solau actually hits the inside wall in towards turn 3. Hopefully that's not picked himself up any damage, but I can see he's still got right end plate damage on his front wings. So maybe he did pick himself up some form of damage.
Maybe I'm not sure. Obviously, he can't go in the pits. He's come in the pits, not change his wings. That might be from earlier, but we'll wait and see there. But yeah, not ideal there for Solau. And yeah.
I don't know what's happened to him. He's
Papa Squanch.
Yeah, he's having a bit of a an Austin Powers moment. He's gone deep in towards turn 2, and he's just been he's been going back and forth trying to turn himself around. He's now down in 12th position. Championship leader is having an absolute stinker of a race, and he's only just come out on a fresh set of the hard tyres as well. I think for that this is his second stop. So yeah,
it's his final stop. Yeah, so
he's significantly behind, and I think the 10th place might even be the best he's going to finish this evening.
Yeah, maybe if he can finish out, maybe he may be thinking maybe I've just got to focus on that, try and get as many points as I can. Yeah, his middle sector, he lost, believe it or not, he lost 30 seconds in that middle sector. That is incredible how much time he lost in that first sector by doing that, and that's incredible. And that has just killed his race. He wasn't having a good race to start off with, but that has just absolutely cemented a terrible race for Papa Squanch, who just hasn't looked at it today. His qualifying wasn't great, and maybe that's why he decided to take an entry penalty. He knew he wasn't going to be that great around here, and thought let's just take the entry penalty on the track and bad that, get out of the way. As you've got Salo, Jess, and Richard all in for the final stops, and they're all on the hard tyres. Yeah, Way's still out on them softs. He's done 7 laps on them softs. Impressive for the Fry, man.
He's coming in now though, so Way's now into the pits on those soft tyres to chuck them off and chuck on maybe a fresh set of the hard tyres to go to the end of the race. So yeah, Solau come out 2 and a bit seconds behind Mikey. Of course, Mikey was in that battle with the likes of Larkin, Feist and Morgan. Of course, Mikey did sort of cause a bit of a train effect, shall we say, and allowed Larkin to get away, so he's now trying to make that time up on the undercut, but he's going to have the worst tyres towards the end of the race. I am now expecting the likes of Larkin, and I'm expecting Larkin to be coming in at the end of this lap, considering that Jess has made her way into the pits. Mike is all over the back of Larkin, of course, as a lap car, just sort of making sure he can try and get a bit of DRS, maybe try and follow a few of Larkin's lines, but yeah. Morgan, I've also just been looking at the times for it. Every lap, that time between himself and Larkin has been coming down. I'd want to say about 0.5 of a second every single lap, and both of them are coming into the pits now at the end of this lap. So Larkin and Morgan are in. Phage is also following them in, so it's basically going to be a race to the end on all of these guys, going on a set of the hard compound of tyres. Morgan on a set of the hards, and I'm expecting Phage to also be going, and he's actually going on mediums. So Phage is going on to a set of mediums to try and be a bit racier at the very start of this, but it's going to be difficult towards the end of this race. As Rich 500 might even play a bit of a part in this, because he's just come out in front of Larkin, Morgan and Phage.
Yeah, Larkin wanted to clear him, but it's going to be difficult with cold tyres. Larkin, he's going to have to go up the inside here. He does not want to sit behind this Williams. He's going to have to go for it up the inside, and he gets the move done. Yes, Rich. Oh, Larkin has a big moment there, but he gets the move done. That was crucial for Larkin now. He can get some nice clear air, build his tyres up, and he's not going to spend the whole middle sector to ban that Williams. Yeah, Phage. Mediums, it just should be better at the end of the race. Track more rubbed in, less fuel, but 10 laps on them tyres is going to be a bit of a push. And speaking of Papa, oh, we've got a crash. That's a safety car, I believe, is it? Or is it a VSC?
Virtual.
I believe it is a VSC, and Papa will be kicking himself because he wanted the full safety car. As to compound a mistake from his mistake, he had to change his wings, so that has cost him about a minute of race time, I believe. That is just a horror show for the Williams man, and he's going to score a point now. Obviously, with Rich New coming out, he'll move up to 12th, but at the moment, 12th looking the best he's going to be, and surely he's going to be a guy that's going to pit for a fast lap attempt at the end of the race to get an
Yeah, I do expect him to maybe hit for fastest lap attempt. Of course, if you're outside of the top 12, you're and you get fastest lap, you do pick up yourself a nice little point of that. And so we're back to racing once again. Rich has had a very good restart and actually managed to drop Morgan on under that virtual safety car. So, of course, being 6-lap old hard tyres, I'd be expecting Mr. Rich 500 to go on a set of mediums, even maybe if he can drag it out for an extra 5 laps, maybe we might even see him go for a set of softs towards the end of the race. Of course, we saw Wade take those softs for 7 laps, but I don't expect him to sort of really do much. The only thing I'm really thinking is Rich going to try and play a bit of a team game for Papa Squanch? Of course, he's one that's leading the championship at the moment, but Rich, of course, being his teammate, Larkin being in, I believe, 2nd or 3rd in the championship standings, he wants to try and help out his teammate as much as possible. Sorry, yeah, he's 3rd in the standings. So we want to try and help his teammate out as much as possible. So maybe Rich might try and play a team game and try and go for a move on Larkin. Of course, on 7-lap old hards, it's going to be a tall order, but he's managed to remain in DRS on them.
Yeah, he could do that, or he could also alternatively, he could maybe try and back Morgan into Phage behind, because Phage isn't really in the championship hunt at the moment, so you could do it both ways. But yeah, Rich, because he's on 7-lap old hards, Rich's pace is quite impressive. He was in DRS after that VSC restart, but Larkin has managed to pull it away a bit here, and Morgan is sort of hovering around the 1.5 second mark to Rich, so Morgan will want to get in DRS of Rich pretty soon and try and get that move done, but I think Rich has got decent straight line speed himself, so we saw how difficult it was for Larkin to pass when he passed him. So yeah, Morgan may find it difficult to overtake this Williams man as Phage is getting ever closer. These 3 are converging on each other for sure, so we could see a good battle between these 3 down the pit straight and the second straight.
We might even see something down towards, like we saw again in the P3 tier at the end of the race, as Phage has a little bit of a moment out of the final corner. Morgan is within the DRS of Rich. Rich hasn't managed to hold the DRS of Larkin, so the Williams is going to be put under immense pressure from Morgan and from Phage. And in fact, here we go, DRS now wide open for the Aston Martin. Rich doesn't look like he's going to fight this one too hard. Down the inside he goes, and it's Morgan now up into 2nd position. And massive as well, because there's a car pit between himself and Phage, and Phage needs to try and get the move done on Rich as soon as possible if he wants any chance of being able to try and go for the win for this evening. But at the moment, it's looking good for Larkin, it's looking good for Morgan, especially Morgan, considering he took himself an engine penalty for this evening as well. And it was a 10 grid pace engine penalty.
Yeah, definitely. He didn't even qualify on pole. So yeah, great job by him as Phage. Wow, look how late it was on the braking. But the problem for Phage was Richard DRS there, and that enabled Rich to stay ahead. And now Phage is going to lose a lot of time here. I believe Phage might have to go for a creative move in the middle sector here, because he's going to lose about a second behind this Williams in the middle sector, because Rich's tyres have gone off. They've not gone off fully, but they're not what they used to be. So you can see at the moment, Rich is already a second behind the Aston Martin man, and Morgan is getting ever closer to Larkin. So that could be a move in the next couple of laps. Morgan does seem like the quickest driver out here tonight yet again, and with Papa having a bit of a stinker, this is going to close the championship up significantly as Phage gets moved on and Rich there. He had to get the move done, but look at that, he's 1.7 seconds behind. He's lost a lot of time there, and I think Rich will pick this lap for sure and chuck a set of mediums on.
Yeah, I expect Rich to be coming in at the end of this lap, so yeah, so that's chuck on a set of those medium tyres. Morgan has managed to actually throw himself into the DRS of Larkin, so at the moment it's a 2-horse race for the win, but of course if Phaged on the medium tyres, I expect him to be making up a bit of time, especially in that second sector as well. But DRS wide open for the Aston Martin. Larkin just turning off his ERS to try and charge a bit of the batteries for the defence that he's going to have to do going down in towards turn number 3, as Rich has made his way into the pits, and so does Ivor and Mike. So I believe that they are the final pitters for the 2-stop strategy. I'll have a quick look in just a short moment. But yeah, Larkin is going to use that battery just to try and protect himself from Morgan. Don't think Morgan's going to be close enough to go for any sort of move in particular in towards turn 3, but they have managed to claw a bit of time away from Phaged. But this is the sector where Phaged is going to need to try and put his foot down and catch back up, especially on the softer compound of tyres. So yeah, Phaged needs to try and do everything he can in this sector to get himself either close or into DRS of those guys out in front of him.
Yeah, Rich comes out in 8th place, he's behind Cam, and I believe Mike, it's a lap down and he's run out of tyres. He came out on the U-set maybe, he's run out of tyres. Then Phage has closed another 2 or 3 attempts in this here, but he has to get a good run through the cast section and maybe drain a bit of his battery. He's on 48%, so his battery's not in good position. And actually, Morgan's got 82% battery, so he's managed his battery well. So you saw in Zandvoort, Morgan lost the race due to poor battery management. I think he's learned less in that race now. He's in a good position on battery, and he knows he can bide his time here. He doesn't have to pass straight away. He can let Larkin put a hole in the wall here for him to overtake. But Phage is closing, but not enough. I believe Phage is out of this because his tyre's going to die off now. So I believe it's probably between Larkin and Morgan for the race win. And Morgan looking the big favourite at the moment. He gets a great run through the final corner now. Use your battery a little bit here, a bit of DRS. He's going to go for it into turn 1, round the outside. Larkin defends inside. Looks a bit defensive, I have to say. Doesn't have straight line speed, the Aston Martin with DRS and ERS, and he's through into the lead. Can Larkin hang on to the back of the Aston, or will Morgan pull away? No, that's the question.
Yeah, it certainly will. So let's have a look. Larkin's going to have the DRS on the Aston Martin out in front of him. Morgan has got significantly more ERS, so he's just going to burn a bit off that, whereas Larkin is actually going to be burning all of the rest of his ERS. But with him running out of that battery, I think it's probably better for him to just sit behind the Aston Martin, follow him for now. Try and not let Phage catch back up in the second sector as Cam and Rich 500 both going at it in towards turn 1. Rich managing on those softer medium tyres and younger medium tyres goes up ahead of Cam. He's got 9.5 seconds to try and catch up to Jess in these last 6 laps, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything, as Waze and Joe both going at it as well. Waze managing to get the move done on Joe for that 10th position as Waze went very defensive. I don't know what he was doing there going into turn 1, but yeah, Waze managing to get the move done on the Mercedes. I also saw a nice little yellow light on his telemetry, so Waze may need to do a bit of fuel saving. I saw that on Jess's car earlier, but I think she's managed to sort that out. But yeah, Waze needs to definitely do a bit of fuel saving, because otherwise he's going to run out, and that's going to be, especially with the light, run down towards the line, going at around 200 odd miles an hour. I think he's going to lose that position out to Joe if he's not careful about saving that fuel. A bit further out behind though of the top 3, Mikey has dropped 7 seconds behind those top 3, and it's allowed Salah with that broken front wing to get himself within the DRS of the Aston Martin. So Mikey going to be put under a bit of pressure here as he makes his way, or as they make their way up towards the DRS detection zone and the DRS zone. I think Salah going to try and use a bit of his battery to go for the move on the Aston Martin. Mikey, of course, going to try and help his teammate and do a solid. Mikey was looking to go defensive, but actually stayed on the racing line. Salah's going to try and look to go down the inside, of course, with the broken wing. Not going to work for him, but Mikey goes very, very deep in towards turn 1. Now going to allow Salah to have a better run out of turn 1, but not going to be able to do anything. Mikey again goes very deep through turn 1, but actually managed to get the better traction in comparison to the 2. But Salah, using that battery, using that DRS, straight past Mikey, very nice and easily. And now up into 4th position. My pick for the win, unfortunately, now down into 5th. I think just went a bit too defensive in that first stint against the likes of Larkin, against the likes of Phage.
Yeah.
And it caused his tyres to just absolutely burn out. And now, unfortunately for him, down in 5th has suffered from all of that.
Yeah, and on board now, the car just looks absolute horrific handful, and he's still got another 5 laps to do, so it's going to be a very painful few laps here for Mikey. Yeah, and just into turn 1, I'm not sure about you, but I thought he was never making turn 1, how late he broke, but he just about made it without avoiding the wall there. But Solo got a great exit out of 2, and it was just easy from there on in. And yeah, looks like he's pulled the second already, even a broken wing as well. So yeah, just see how quick would the Solo be? And it could have, it's another what could have been a Solo without his wheel failing in qualifying, without his wing damage in the race. Where could he have finished? It's another hard luck story for the Mercedes man, but he's either finished second or fourth, and at the moment it's fourth place again as he got 7 seconds of edge. Who looks really in command. And speaking of in command, I believe Morgan has broken DRS. Larkin just about hanging in there, but yeah, Morgan, he's looking in control here. Larkin, he's just about hanging on DRS, but he's not got much battery left either. So Morgan, he's looking a huge favourite at the moment for the race win with 4 laps to go.
Yeah, he certainly is. So, what looked like it was going to be Larkin and Mikey battling it out. It was the other Aston Martin and Larkin battling it out for this race win. But yeah, I think Larkin unfortunately has lost that DRS out to Morgan. Morgan is looking to try and take his second race win of the season and his second win in a row. Of course, Papa Squatch, the only one that has managed to take more than one race win this season and has done it consecutively 3 times. Morgan is going to look to try and do the exact same thing for this evening, and it's looking very, very good. But Larkin just looks that much better in this second sector. I wonder if he's got a significantly higher wings compared to the likes of Morgan out in front of him. But yeah, I can see Morgan also just trying to save a bit of his battery. Both him and Larkin are saving battery, and I think Morgan definitely needs to try and defend as he can as he gets a penalty. So that has just completely ruined his race win. He needs to now try and bolt 3 seconds out in front of Larkin in the remaining laps, and I don't think he's going to, considering Larkin has managed to hold on the DRS, but he might be able to still finish in second position after all of this here.
Yeah, only the second time penalty of the night, and the most significant one, running a little bit wide coming up the cast section. So easy to do. It's so easy to do that. Obviously the race line, you do go over the white line there, but he went over it a bit too much forwards over the line, and that is going to be costly. Larkin knows if he can just stay within the pace of here, he's got to save him 3 seconds. He'll be looking good for the race. When I believe you're holding the second, because I believe Fage's mediums have gone off, so I believe Morgan will still get second, but that's a race win that's slipped through Morgan's opportunity. It's such an unforced error as well, going a little bit too wide. He's done all the hard work, and well, now he's lost it for sure. That is such a shame for the Aston Martin man, but Larkin, he won't care. He won't care how he gets a win. All he cares about is getting them 20 points.
He can be licking his lips seeing that Morgan picked up that penalty outside of the castle section now as well. So Larkin now in the net race lead. I mean, there can't be any more safety cars. So yeah, unless Morgan makes a drastic mistake, I think second position is the best that he's going to be picking up. And unless Larkin makes a drastic mistake as well, yeah, it's looking like Larkin and Morgan, that position will change between the pair of them. No one else really sort of close other than the battle for that 10th place between Waste and Joe, as the mediums are definitely starting to die out now for the rest of those guys. Other than Rich, I think Rich, because he pitted that quite late for those medium tyres, he's running quite nicely in 7th position at this current moment. 6.5 seconds now behind Jess, but I don't think he's going to be able to catch up enough to the back of Jess. I think Mikey might have just had a bit of a moment.
Yeah, Wake at the moment, and also Waste at the moment now, coming out the corner. Waste still got the flashing yellow light, so Waste maybe doing a bit of lift and coast, and that has allowed Joe to catch you a bit here. Battle for 10th place. Let's see with Papa Squanch 12 seconds behind now. If Waste has a really bad fuel issue, that may allow Papa Squanch to gain another place. So keep an eye out for that later on, as this is our closest battle on track. As Larkin, he knows all he has to do really is do this, stay within DRS of Morgan, and he's got this race win in the bag. As Fage is 5 seconds, his tyres have gone off massively, and he's a bit lucky that Solo's not a bit closer, because he could have lost the podium here. As it's looking like it's going to be back-to-back podiums for the RB man, and he is looking good for that. There's another strong showing by him. Great quality pace, didn't quite have the race pace, but impressive showing by him there. As Larkin, he's looking in command here. He just knows.
He certainly is looking in command about that. So yeah, I think Mikey definitely needs to. He's made an improvement for sure this race. I've got to say, I think Baku, very very good improvement from him, and fair play to him putting it in second position, or should I say pole, with the engine penalties. But yeah, Mr. Ivory making a pit stop, wants to go for the fastest lap, and I do not blame him whatsoever. I think he's definitely got the facilities to do that, so going to try and go for the fastest lap outside of top 12 and see if the Welshman is able to do that. The guys at the front, though, Larkin is managed to hold on to 5/10 behind Morgan. So Larkin might want to try and get this done on track just in case Morgan can try and get a penalty removed.
Yeah, because if you never know, he might appeal on these warnings. You never know. So we want to get this move done. He's got quite a good battery situation as well. He's draining a bit here, but we know that Morgan has great straight line speed, so it won't be easy for Larkin to overtake. 7/10. It is within the window opportunity, but I think it's a bit too far back here. And he got to the final lap here, and Morgan will lead coming out of turn 1, but if Larkin can get a great exit through 1 and 2, he could maybe fancy an overtake here, but Morgan's got it nicely under control there. And yeah, I believe Morgan should cross the line in first place, but I just saw him P3. It's never over till the checker flag.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. So Morgan leading the race at the moment with Larkin just behind him 0.6 of a second, but Morgan picking up that 3-second time penalty out the exit of the castle section a couple of laps ago has basically hindered him from taking the win for this evening unless he manages to get a warning removed. I'm not sure if he would be able to get anything removed for that, but yeah, Larkin is in the driver's seat at the moment. Morgan had a very good recovery from taking his engine penalty earlier this evening. And he's going to finish on the top step across the line, but I think Larkin is going to be able to take the victory again as long as nothing drastic happens to him in these last couple of corners on this last lap. And you can see he is just taking it nice and slowly just to make sure nothing happens to him. It will be his second race win of the season. Morgan was looking to try and do that, and unfortunately that 3-second time penalty has costed him the time for that. Morgan, in fact, is actually just completely hammering it down. 1.5 seconds now out in front of Larkin, and again, unfortunately, it's just not going to be enough, especially down this DRS zone as there's yellow flags at the back. That is, in fact, actually either been Mike. Oh, no, it isn't. I don't think that is Mike. No, it isn't. Sorry. That is Welsh Benjamin. Welsh Benjamin has had a spin out of turn number 4, but across the line we go of Morgan. He will come across the line to take the checkered flag in first, but it will be Larkin who takes the win for this evening. Morgan will finish in second in the end, and FaZe will pick up the final podium position for this evening. Solau from the very back of the grid ends up finishing in 4th. Mikey, I think he will think it's a bit of a disappointing race. He finishes in 5th in the end. Jess, I think with her best result so far this season, finishing in 6th position. Very, very good race from both of the Red Bulls this evening. Rich finishing in 7th, Cam in 8th position. Welsh Benjamin, he's got, his wing is almost completely missing, so he's got a bit that he needs, he's got to hope that
Wade's out of fuel.
Joe doesn't actually catch up to him, as Wade is now out of fuel, so Papa Squanch might end up actually jumping up. Oh no, Papa Squanch will definitely jump up ahead of Waze after all that, as Waze actually picked up a 10-second penalty as well. Joe isn't close enough to getting Welsh Benjamin, so Welsh Benjamin will end up finishing in 9th position in the end with that wing damage. Joe in 10th. Waze, unfortunately, is going to look at finishing in 11th position as Mike, well, he's just about to come across the line, so he won't be able to have the opportunity of getting himself into the points. But Mike, see what time he's able to do, as again, another 10-second penalty for Waze. And yeah, Mike, well, we didn't actually get to see what his lap time would have been, but Papa Squanch is looking to try and pick up the fastest lap of the race. And I've actually been told by Morgan he got 3 warnings in 1 corner, so that might be
a penalty removal. Yeah, I was going to mention that. I went on the race director and saw that as Papa Squanch takes fast lap. He had to get that done because he was 1,000th of a second slower than this Waze, so he got that done. He'll get 3 points. But yeah, I did mention that. I was going to mention that because I was just going on the race director. So yeah, Morgan may, if that was a glitch, then he may get a penalty removed. We'll wait and see though. Obviously, if he wants to get it removed, he needs to get his race director and send it into the stewards and they can review it. But yeah. So Morgan may still win this race, but I have to say the front 2 today were a class of their own, whatever the result.
Certainly did, but yeah, congratulations to Larkin for the win at this current moment, which could be subject to change, especially if Morgan gets that penalty removed. But it was very good racing between the pair of them, very good racing with FaZe as well, with the likes of Mikey, Solau and Mikey as well. Mikey getting involved in quite a few battles this evening, but it was Larkin the one that came out on top of that. Morgan from 10th position finishing in 2nd, FaZe in 3rd, Solau in 4th, Mikey in 5th, Jess in 6th, with Rich in 7th, Cam in 8th, Wes Benjamin in 9th, Joe Brown out of top 10, Papa Squanch in 11th, picking up the fastest lap point as well. Waze in 12th, with Mike in 13th, Rich in 14th, Weapon Proverb in 15th, Fatinho 16th, and Lawrence 17th. All DNFing from 14th downwards from Rich, Weapon Proverb, Fatinho, and Lawrence as well. We've got to be very quick about this as well, though, Jamie. Who would you say is your sim racing driver of the day, and what would you like to ask him for this evening?
I'm going to go with Jess. Top 6, good pace, and actually a good follow for a teammate Larkin today. I'm going to say well done, Jess. Good result. You must be happy with that. What made you so confident around this track today? Because you had really good pace, especially in the first stint.
Good question. And I've got to say, my question will probably go over to the other Red Bull of Larkin. I think he played an absolute blinder in terms of how he was driving this evening as well. My question will be, how was you expecting to take the win for this evening? And was you expecting to have that big of a gap in that second stint when you was fighting with Mikey after the pit stops? So, yeah, obviously both Red Bulls being nominated for the Sim Racing Driver of the Day. If you are in the Discord, make sure you are voting for who you think is your driver of the day between the two Red Bulls. But yeah, that's that. We're now at the halfway point of the season here, Jamie. Any final thoughts for this evening?
Well, I never thought I'd see a race today where Papa Squanch almost got lapped, but we saw that, and this result is close to championship significantly. So not only do we have close racing, we now have a very close championship. I tell you what, I cannot wait for the second half of the season, which will obviously start next week in Imola. I know a track I know you love.
Certainly do. So, yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in for this evening. Obviously, a big shout out to all the sponsors at the bottom of the screen as well. Yeah, halfway point of the season. We're now getting into the second half of the season next week around Imola. Make sure you guys are tuning in for that one. Of course, make sure you also tune in for the P1 tier, which is about to start over with Jess and with Ivor and Mike. So, yeah, make sure you tune into that. Thank you everybody for tuning in for this evening, and we'll catch you guys next week for round number 7 around Imola.